Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Streamline English. I hope you are having a peaceful day. Find a soft, quiet place and let yourself settle. Breathe in slowly and gently out. Tonight we travel to one of the most breathtaking places on Earth. High in the mountains of South America, you don't need to understand every word. Let the story carry you gently upward, like the wind moving through the high Andes. Imagine you are standing in the mountains of South America, the Andes, the great mountain range that runs like a spine down the western side of the continent. You are very high up. The air is thin and cold. Below you, the clouds swirl. And around you, impossibly, there is a city of stone, a city of perfect walls and terraced gardens, of temples and storehouses and palaces. All of it built from stone, fitted together with such precision that you cannot slide a piece of paper between the blocks. And no mortar, no glue holds them together. Just the stone, shaped and fitted with extraordinary skill, standing for 500 years and more. Below this mountain world, an empire stretches in every direction. To the west, the dry Pacific desert. To the east, the green jungle. To the north and south, thousands of miles of mountains, valleys, and coasts. All connected by roads, all supplied by storehouses full of food, all governed by runners carrying messages across terrain that seems impossible to cross. This is the Inca Empire, and it was one of the most remarkable civilizations in all of history. How did a people build an empire of such size and sophistication? High in the Andes Mountains, without the wheel, without iron tools, without a written language. This is the story of the Inca, and here it is. If you enjoy learning English through beautiful history like this, please subscribe to Streamline English. It helps us keep these calm stories coming. Thank you, my friend. Our story takes place in South America, in the great Andes mountain range, which stretches along the entire western side of the continent, through what are today the countries of Peru, Bolivia, Ecuador, and beyond. The Andes are some of the highest mountains in the world, and they create a landscape of extreme contrasts. Icy peaks, deep valleys, rushing rivers, and ancient, silent plateaus. This was the world the Inca called home. They were not the first civilization to develop in the Andes. Many peoples had lived and flourished there for thousands of years before them. But the Inca built upon that heritage and created something vast and astonishing. The Inca civilization rose gradually, but by the 15th century, around 600 years ago, the Inca Empire had grown to become the largest empire in the Western Hemisphere and one of the largest in the world. At its greatest extent, it stretched for nearly 4,000 miles from north to south, an immense distance, across some of the most challenging terrain on Earth. The people who built this empire called themselves the Quechua people, and they called their empire Tawantinsuyu, which means, roughly, the four regions or the four parts together, because their empire was divided into four great regions, all governed from a central capital. That capital city was Cusco, a magnificent mountain city that the Inca considered the center of the world. From Cusco, the great ruler of the empire, the Sappa Inca, meaning unique leader or the Inca, governed millions of people across a vast and diverse territory. And from Cusco, the great roads went out in all directions. To understand the Inca, you must first understand one of the central ideas of their civilization. They believed themselves to be the children of the sun. The sun was the supreme god of the Inca, and their ruler, the Sappa Inca, was considered to be a divine figure, a descendant of the sun god himself. Divine means of or relating to a god, holy, sacred. This was not simply a story or a symbol. The Inca genuinely believed and organized their entire civilization around the belief that their emperor was the son of the sun, and that his authority came from heaven itself. This belief shaped everything. The great golden temples built to honor the sun were some of the most beautiful and richly decorated structures in the ancient Americas. Religious festivals, the agricultural calendar, and the rhythm of life itself were all organized around the movement of the sun across the sky. The Inca were careful and skilled observers of the stars and planets, using their movements to plan the planting and harvesting of crops. The Sappa Inca's power was absolute. He owned, in theory, everything in the empire, all the land, all the animals, all the goods. But this power came with a responsibility to care for his people, and in this the Inca system was remarkable. The empire had no money, no markets as we know them. Instead, it ran on a system of labor and distribution. People owed the state a certain amount of their time and work. This labor tax was called Mitta. In return, the state fed, clothed, and cared for the people. Storehouses full of food, clothing, and supplies were maintained all across the empire to be distributed in times of need. No one starved in the Inca Empire. As long as the state functioned, the basic needs of the people were met. Perhaps the single greatest achievement of the Inca, the one that made their empire possible, was their roads. The Inca road system was one of the great engineering marvels of the ancient world. At its greatest extent, it stretched for tens of thousands of miles, crossing mountains, valleys, deserts, and jungles. Roads were carved along steep cliffsides. Tunnels were cut through mountains. Suspension bridges, bridges supported by ropes or cables hanging from above, were built across deep mountain gorges, allowing the roads to cross rivers and chasms that would otherwise be impassable. Some of these rope bridges were remarkable feats of engineering, hundreds of feet long, hanging high above rushing rivers. And here is something astonishing. All of this was built without the wheel. The Inca never developed wheeled vehicles. They had no horses, no carts. The roads were designed for people on foot and for the animals they did use. The llama, a sturdy animal related to the camel, native to the Andes, which could carry heavy loads across the mountain terrain. Along these roads, at regular intervals, were relay stations. Here, specially trained runners called Chazque lived and waited. When a message or a package arrived, a Chazque would sprint to the next station, hand it off to a waiting runner, and that runner would sprint to the next, and so on, in a relay chain that could carry messages thousands of miles in just a matter of days. By this relay system, news from one end of the empire could reach the capital in what must have seemed like an almost magical speed. These roads were not just for messages. They were the veins of the empire, carrying soldiers, officials, produce, and goods across the vast Inca world, binding the four regions together into one functioning whole. One of the most impressive achievements of the Inca was something quiet and practical. They fed their people. The Andes Mountains are not easy farmland. The slopes are steep, The altitude is high, the climate can be harsh. But the Inca transformed the mountains with one of the most remarkable agricultural innovations of the ancient world: terraces. Terraces are flat, level platforms cut into the side of a mountain like steps going up the slope. By building terraces, the Inca turned steep, unusable hillsides into productive farmland. Each flat terrace could hold soil and be irrigated, allowing crops to grow at altitudes where farming would otherwise be impossible. From a distance, the terraced mountains of the Inca look like enormous stairways built for a giant, carved into the green flanks of the Andes. And the Inca were brilliant farmers. They cultivated a remarkable variety of crops. Most importantly, the potato, which would later be brought to Europe and change the diets of billions of people. They also grew maize, quinoa, squash, beans, and dozens of other crops, developing many varieties suited to different altitudes and climates. They understood how to preserve food, freeze-drying it at altitude, for example, to create stores that would last for years without spoiling. The result was an agricultural system of great sophistication and resilience. The storehouses along the roads were kept full, so that if one region suffered a drought or a disaster, food could be sent from another. Famine was not unknown in the Inca world, but the state worked hard to prevent it, and in normal times, people ate. No discussion of the Inca would be complete without the place that has come to symbolize them in the modern imagination: Machu Picchu. High in the mountains of what is now Peru, at an altitude of nearly 2,500 meters above sea level, perched on a narrow ridge between two peaks, the Inca built a remarkable stone city. It is one of the most breathtaking sights on Earth, a city of temples, palaces, houses, and terraces, all built of perfectly fitted stone, all surrounded on almost every side by sheer mountain drops and swirling clouds. Machu Picchu was probably a royal estate, a private retreat for the Sappa Inca and his court, rather than a great capital or administrative center. But it shows, more clearly than almost anything else, the extraordinary skill of Inca stonework. The stones are cut and fitted so precisely without mortar that the joints are nearly invisible, and the walls have survived earthquakes that would have destroyed buildings built with modern techniques. Their secret was the shape of the stones, slightly rounded and interlocking, allowing the walls to flex slightly during an earthquake rather than cracking apart. The Inca had no iron tools for this work. They used tools made of stone, copper, and bronze. And yet the precision of their work is extraordinary. Even today, engineers and archaeologists study Inca construction with admiration and wonder. Machu Picchu was largely hidden from the outside world for centuries after the Inca Empire fell. A Western explorer brought it to wider attention in the early 20th century, and today it is one of the most visited and celebrated archaeological sites in the world, a symbol of the achievement and the mystery of the Inca civilization. In the year 1532, everything changed. Spanish conquistadors arrived in South America. Conquistadors were Spanish soldier explorers who came to the Americas seeking gold and territory, often with great cruelty. Led by a man named Francisco Pizarro, a small group of Spanish soldiers arrived in the Inca Empire. At the worst possible moment, the Inca Empire was weakened by a devastating civil war, a war between factions within the same people or nation, fought between two brothers, both claiming the right to rule. This division, combined with the devastating effect of new diseases brought from Europe to which the Inca had no immunity, made the empire vulnerable as it had never been before. In a shocking sequence of events, the Spanish captured the Sappa Inca, demanded an enormous ransom in gold and silver, one of the largest ransoms in history, received the gold, and then killed the Inca ruler anyway. The empire fell rapidly into Spanish control. Much of Inca culture, religion, and knowledge was destroyed or suppressed. The great golden temples were melted down for their metal. Many of the roads and cities fell into ruin or were built over. But the Inca were not erased. Their descendants are the Quechua-speaking peoples of the Andes today. Millions of people who still speak the language of the Inca, still farm the ancient terraces, still tell the stories of their ancestors. And the world has inherited the Inca's greatest gift to agriculture, the potato, now one of the most important food crops on Earth, feeding billions of people. The Inca built their empire on the roof of the world, and its echoes still reach us today. The story of the Inca teaches us several profound things. First, it teaches us about the power of adaptation, finding ways to thrive in a difficult environment. The Inca did not have easy land to work with. They had steep mountains, thin air, unpredictable weather. And instead of giving up, they adapted. They invented terraces, developed cold-resistant crops, and built roads through terrain that seemed impossible. They made their difficulty into their strength. Second, it teaches us that great civilization does not depend on any single technology. The Inca had no writing, no wheel, no iron. By the assumptions of many old historians, they should not have been able to build an advanced civilization. And yet they did, one of the largest and most sophisticated in the ancient world. This is a reminder that human ingenuity and creativity can find many different paths to the same destination. There is no one way to be great. You do not need every advantage to build something magnificent. You need imagination, determination, and the willingness to use what you have. So tonight, before you rest, let me share this with you. The Inca built their civilization in one of the hardest environments on Earth. They had steep mountains, thin air, and the constant challenge of high altitude. And they did not just survive there, they thrived. They built roads, fed millions, created beauty that still takes your breath away 500 years later. Learning a new language can sometimes feel like climbing a mountain. The altitude is high, the air is thin, each step takes effort. But remember the Inca. They did not conquer the mountains by wishing they were flat. They built terraces, step by step, turning the steep slopes into something they could work with. Your English is your terrace, built step by step on the slopes of something that seemed impossible, until one day you look around and see what you have grown. Keep building your terraces, my friend, one careful step at a time. If this story filled you with wonder, please give it a like and subscribe to Streamline English. It truly helps us grow. And tell me in the comments, which ancient civilization would you like me to tell you about next? Until next time, my friend, keep climbing, keep building, and have a wonderful day.